This video works for any DAW, but the way I'm going to explain it is on Reaper. So try to figure out which options within or which features within your DAW let you do this kind of workflow. Mainly when you're finishing a mix and you want to push your mix a little bit further ahead, or you want to pull a little bit back, you maybe want to have 1 to 3 faders that let you do this. My name is Juanchis, and let's learn about something that may be controlling faders. That could be VCA faders. Maybe the concept of a VCA fader is not something new. This feature, you have to figure out how it works within your DAW. You have to have a way to group your selected tracks or make certain groups of tracks. On Reaper, you can reach the track grouping matrix and you can select which things are linked from one track to another. For example, these 2 tracks are linked together on volume. So if I move the volume of one, it will move the volume of the other and the other way around. On Reaper, you will have this small mark on top of the faders. That's something that's leading the instruction, and on the bottom if it's following an instruction from a group, in this case for faders. If I go back into the grouping matrix and I change any other value such as panning, it shows, or maybe mutes, it shows. So anything that's linked within a group will have these 2 marks, is for follow and lead. This second click is for lead only, and you can see it here as well. And this third click is for follow only. That's how it works. So what we want to do, or what you want to try, or what you may want to try out, is we have this music example for this video. So maybe instead of automating in certain sections of the song from the master track, you have to have three tracks that are assigned as leaders or as a leading fader of some control, for example, volume lead. And this will lead the volume of other tracks. Which ones? Well, I have this way of organizing on my head the structure of a mix. So the basic difference of what we are dealing with this way of thinking about it is that if we were using VCA channels only trim the signal, but they don't manage the fader. They only do some kind of trim because they are voltage control only. This way, when you are using volume lead instead of VCA control, you can actually move the position of the fader and you can still adjust without it being a compromise. What I mean by that is, if I need to push a little bit my buses, or if I need to pull back, then I can just use this control channel where I can push them all together or pull them back together. And even if I do this, I can still make small adjustments between them, and I don't have to move them all, or I don't have to set up a shortcut to turn them on and off, so I can only do one movement at a time, and that's so much faster. What you have to consider for this kind of scenario is that maybe you have a saturation plugin in your drum bus output, and you have something like True Iron by Casrock, and maybe you want to push a little bit harder in, so you have to move your auxiliary tracks, and maybe you need to push other channels. So for this, it might be faster to select them and then push them together, or group them as well and then do the turning on and off. I have this structure because this structure lets me handle really well when I need to push all of my line levels, let's call it like that. Line levels being the straight up channels that really have audio coming out of them. But remember your first volume control is actually your clip gain. So this is a way of some sort of gain hierarchy for your mix. This way, if I need to move the clip gain, I can reach here. If I need to pull or push all of the audio channels into the auxiliaries, then I can use this fader. But if I want to push the auxiliary into the bus processing, if you're using saturation on bus processing, you can push or pull as well. I can do it like this, using one single fader. Or if I want to do it with the buses, I can also do it like this. And I think this is really clear or clear enough. So maybe this way of arranging this idea makes so much more sense visually to you, because I can only use one fader and I can still make micro adjustment from one section of the song or from one part of all of my buses. That way I have to worry less about making small management or micromanagement within my session. And it's not the same thing as top-down mixing because I'm not starting from the buses. I always do clip gain first, especially when I have vocals, but I can handle the flow and the nonlinear processing in my session as much as I want by using this system, and it's extremely useful. I hope you give it a try. Like, subscribe, comment and share. You can also see that even if you don't process your stereo out too hard, why this makes sense. If I'm hitting my main compressor, my stereo out compressor, just as if I was mixing on a solid state console. If I was hitting it way too hard, then I might want to pull back only my buses, because probably on other part of the hierarchy of your gain structure or your signal flow, you have some sort of non-linear processing that you don't want to mess with again. So maybe up to here your signal is really balanced out, really flowing, and maybe this relationship from this final state of buses into a compressor, into the stereo out, could be nice to have an extra control. And if you see my buses, you can see that I can even adjust only the level of the bass with all of its processing that's behind it. And push into the compressor. So yeah, you have to figure out how to do this within your own DAW. Reaper has a really fast way of dealing with it. On Ableton Live, you can make it work, but it's a little bit harder since you have to use multimap or something like that. Most other DAWs have some sort of VCA function, but I think I've made it clear enough why I like controlling the fader instead of just using a VCA. If you like this kind of video, please comment, share, subscribe, and all of those things that people on YouTube always say. My name is Juanchis from Mexico City, and thanks for listening.